Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the 4-Star Chicago Sports Podcast. And we are on an Ideal Amusement Chicago Bears preview Wednesday. The Bears have traveled across the pond. They are 5-3 all-time versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. And before we get into this, I have to share a little quick memory because everyone remembers 9/11, and it was a terrible time in American history. And the Bears actually were opening the season that year against said Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, that game was obviously canceled for the tragedy that happened in our country. And well, we got to do this back on, what was it? It was late or early January. They made the game up. And that was the Keith Traylor interception. Ted Washington following him. And I was actually sitting with my brother, Mike Mead, and my buddy Rob. And we were in like the third row. And Traylor was running right at us, dude. It was one of the coolest memories I had. And then we had an awesome bonfire afterwards in the parking lot. But the clinched the division, the NFC Central that year. We were still the NFC Central that year. So that was pretty awesome. But moving on, the Bears play this Sunday, October 13th at 9:30 in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium across the pond, my friend. And so we all know Jaquan Brisker will not be present. Zach Pickens has been ruled out. Terrell Smith has been ruled out. Kyler Gordon, limited practice today with a heel injury. Have not heard there's any concerns about him missing anything at all to this moment. So we're not going to really go there. I want to ask you, Kyle, because I think that the Chicago Bears offense, starting with Caleb Williams, is going to feast on Sunday. When we get into our rankings a little bit later, I have him and DJ up pretty high. This team is very putrid against the pass. They've been lit up by a number of quarterbacks and wide receivers this year. They do have one gentleman that we were talking about pre-show by the name of Tank Bigsby that gives us all a little bit of concern. And the big man on the outside, the Rook, Brian Thomas. Kyle, give me your biggest fears, your biggest worries. What do you think about this game across the pond in London?
Well, Sean, my biggest fear is that the Bears need to be able to establish a run game in order to get and play off the play action pass, the RPO, so on and so forth. And the Jacksonville Jaguars defense there are no scrubs to stop the run right now. They are 8th in the NFL rushing yards per allowed per game. They are at 105.6. They are actually ranked dead last in passing yards per game allowed at 287.8. So this game does play out well for Caleb Williams, but man, if the Jaguars can shut down the Bears run game, which they've obviously been capable of doing this season so far, they're going to make the Bears one-dimensional, and this game's going to get a little scarier than it should be, considering that the Jaguars are an inferior opponent. You look at these two teams on paper, Sean, and the Bears are a better team, but the Jaguars have been playing better as of late too. Last week, Trevor Lawrence was 28 for 34 for 371 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, they seem like they're getting better every week. I do still think ultimately this team's going to end up somewhere in the bottom of the NFL. I think Doug Peterson should have been fired already at this point in the season. I think he's going to be fired before the season's over. The Bears should win this game, but another thing that scares you if you're a Bears fan is the Jacksonville Jaguars are comfortable playing in London. They have now played over there 11 times since 2013. Their record is 6-5. The Bears have only played there twice since 2011. Their record is 1-1. But it's going to be an interesting game. I feel like whenever they have these overseas games, particularly the London games, the 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning games, the ball just seems to bounce a weird way, man. There's something about these games. There's just always something wonky going on there.
Yeah, that last game we played, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago against the Raiders, was just it was actually a really boring game at that. But I do like that Eberflus decided to get this team out of Chicago rapidly and get out and get acclimated to the time change and all that. I think that's really going to benefit them. And one of the things that I was really looking at that makes me feel happy, and that the reason why I'm backing Caleb Williams and DJ Moore here is the Jaguars are allowing the second most yards per play in the league at 6.0, and the 31st in opponent EPA per play. So for me, that just says there's going to be a lot of opportunity for the Bears playmakers to make some plays. They've also given up 141 points, and their second most yardage allowed at 1967 so far in the NFL. So I just think that the Bears offense is going to be okay. I know they're good against the run, but I expect Caleb Williams again dropping back, passing this football, connecting with his receivers, continuing on some of these things that he's been good at under pressure. 29 of 50, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. They don't generate a lot of pressure, unless I'm mistaken on that, Jacksonville. What's Jacksonville's pressure rate, Kyle? Do you know that off the top of your head?
The pressure rate, I do not know. I know that this far into the season, the Jacksonville Jaguars have 13 sacks to their opponents' 11. So they're not necessarily the bottom of the league, but they're also not the most dangerous. But I will say, Sean, that being said, Josh Allen has had a very slow start to the season. He's been banged up a little bit. I do expect Josh Allen to start playing a little bit better. And you guys, obviously, we're talking about Josh Allen, the defensive end for the Jacksonville Jaguars / linebacker, not Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. Hey, what's up, Lauren? Lauren says, hey, guys. You guys, I'm not necessarily saying that this is a bad matchup for the Bears, because I think any team that allows the most passing yards in the NFL is a good matchup for anybody. What I'm saying is this is what the Jaguars are good at, the Bears are not good at. So it's going to become a problem at some point in this game. I do not think this is going to be blowout for the Chicago Bears. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are not a good football team. I mean, right now they have 1 win in the season. They're 1-4. This is a team that you look at on paper, you look at their overall record, and you think the Bears should come in here and kill them. But it's just not that type of game. I mean, like I said, the Jacksonville Jaguars are 8th in the NFL at stopping the run. The Bears cannot run the ball. They're still averaging below 4 yards per carry on the season. And the Jacksonville Jaguars run the ball well. They're 11th in rushing yards this season at 126.2 yards per game. And the Bears are not good at stopping the run. They're 18th right now, and they're giving up 120.8 yards per game. So you'd expect the Jacksonville Jaguars to run for over 120 yards, right? If you look at the numbers, that's what you would expect. And the problem with this Jacksonville team is, you know, when we played teams like the Panthers, if you did decide to commit to stopping the run, you got Andy Dalton throwing balls with passes. I mean, this is not, I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in the NFL, but if you commit to stopping the run, he's a capable quarterback. He is more than capable of taking advantage of that if you leave open receivers downfield, especially like Sean, you just talked about. Brian Thomas Jr., especially in the last 3 games, and Christian Kirk in the last 3 games have both been incredible.
Mm-hmm. You know, and speaking of Brian Thomas, I know he's been a subject of a lot of conversation here on 4-Star Chicago Sports, especially with Brando, which brings me to, I know we both did a lot of research on Tank Bigsby. I'm going to let you get to that. I just want everyone to know on this Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas is right now, man, first off, he's got elite speed. He's a 4'3", 6'3", 209-pound wide receiver who's off to an electric start. He's on pace for 75 catches, 1,350 yards, and 10 touchdowns right now as a rookie, and 115 targets. I mean, this guy's a legit weapon. The Bears have to be concerned about. I'm not too concerned because the Chicago Bears seem to be taking away the best parts of the defense or of the other team's offense in most games. They were not able to do that with Nico Collins in Houston. He hurt us really bad. Do you think Brian Thomas can kind of be that Nico Collins and hurt us the way Nico Collins hurt us across the middle, down the sideline, pretty much wherever he wanted to go? He was getting catches in that football game.
Well, first of all, I think it depends on what the Bears decide to do as a defense in this game. I don't know if they're going to try to commit to stopping the run. I don't know if they're going to keep doing what they've been doing and limiting the pass. I mean, ultimately, it's up to the defensive coaches and Matt Eberflus for this. But, I mean, what Brian Thomas is doing shouldn't be surprising to anybody. I mean, you said he's on pace for 10 touchdowns this year. I'm pretty sure Brian Thomas led the college football in touchdowns, receiving touchdowns last year. So that's something we should have expected coming into the season. Now, he is learning faster than I thought he would. But, you know, a lot of things I hear on this podcast or just in general are people comparing Christian Kirk to Brian Thomas, who's the number one, who's better. You guys, ultimately, it doesn't matter. I mean, they both have completely different skill sets. They're two totally different receivers. Christian Kirk is more of a possession receiver. Brian Thomas is more of a deep threat receiver.
Yep.
I mean, the last three, look how close these numbers are, Sean. The last three games, Christian Kirk has 19 receptions. Brian Thomas has 16 receptions. Christian Kirk has 228 receiving yards. Brian Thomas has 256 receiving yards. Christian Kirk has 1 touchdown. Brian Thomas has 2 touchdowns. And they both have 1 40-yard reception in the last 3 games. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. If you do commit to trying to stop the run, and you look at Tank Bigsby and what he's done this year, I mean, I know he's an unlimited basis, but right now Tank Bigsby has 34 carries for 273 yards and 8 yards per carry, guys. That is leading the NFL. 8 yards per carry.
He's ripping off big runs, man.
Yeah, they have obviously found something in Tank Bigsby, and he's starting to dig into Travis Etienne's workload a little bit more and more every single week. He also has 2 touchdowns. The only thing Tank Bigsby does not do, which makes him a little more one-dimensional when he's on the field, is he doesn't catch passes. Right now, in this season, guys, he has 1 reception. So it's not really a guy you have to worry about coming out of the backfield and catching passes. But like I said, Sean, I don't like to call it a bad matchup because the Jacksonville Jaguars are 1-4 and they're giving up the most passing yards in the NFL. But they just seem to do – it's like everything the Bears don't do well, Jacksonville does well opposite. I mean, like I said, you think about the Jacksonville Jaguars and being a 1-4 football team. Would you ever – imagine that they were 8th in rushing yards per game this season? I mean, at 105.
No, because Travis Etienne has not been good this year.
11th in rushing yards per game this season, 126.2, and 8th against the run. I mean, you guys, if you're in the top 15, the top half of the league in rushing yards and against the run, you should be a good football team, which obviously means that Doug Peterson's probably just not a very good football coach, and I totally expect him to get fired at some point this season. But I do think the Jacksonville Jaguars are getting better every week. I wish the Bears would have played Jacksonville week 1 or week 2. I wish they would have played Jacksonville week 2 or week 3 and played the Colts this week. That would have been much better for the Bears. I'm not saying this is a trap game, but the Bears better be ready to play. And like I said, London is the home away from home for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're used to this, man. They've been over there a lot. They know the good restaurants, the good hotels. They know where to hang out. They know what to do out there. They're comfortable out there. The Bears better be prepared to play on Sunday.
Yeah, and on Tank Bigsby too. He's now 3 out of 5 games over 70 rushing yards, and this kind of brings me to something we're going to be missing this Sunday, and that's my guy, Jaquan Brisker, man. First off, he's tied for the team lead in tackles at 40 with our boy TJ Edwards. Quarterbacks have only had a 60% passer rating against him. It seems he's grown into where quarterbacks are trying to scheme away from him. Last year, he gave up 6 touchdowns. He's given up none this year. I mean, he's steadily improved. He's also there to help cover the middle. Bigsby through the middle, and Christian Kirk sitting down, finding that empty pocket. I don't know what Elijah Hicks is going to bring. He doesn't blow me out of the box as this guy like, oh, I actually thought it would be Jonathan Owens who would be replacing him. So I'm a little bit surprised that it was Elijah Hicks. And again, we talked about this a little bit earlier. The coaches are with him every day. Obviously, they know a lot more than we do. I'm hoping they get this right, but I thought when Jonathan Owens was signed by the Bears, he was an immediate backup, free safety, strong safety. He was the guy. I don't know. I'm not sold on Elijah Hicks. He was decent last year. He wasn't awful. He wasn't great. So that's a matchup that I'm really going to want to see right over the middle. The Bears have been beaten up over the middle a little bit too through the first 5 games. So I understand what you're saying, Kyle, about it's not being a great matchup for the Bears, especially missing a guy like Jaquan Brisker, who's kind of become a captain out there. He's kind of leading, but we still have Byard. So I'm going to put a little faith in Byard. What are your thoughts about Brisker not being in this game? How does he affect the Bears defense not being in there in your mind?
Well, Sean, it's a bigger deal than people think. I mean, it's tough for, safeties don't really stack up on the stat sheet very well. I mean, you can't really tell. Safeties can have a great game and almost go without having a single statistical stat on the stat sheet. But Jaquan Brisker is done a lot for the Bears this season. First of all, he's a ball hawk. The last 2 weeks, he had that game-ending pick against Matthew Stafford against the Rams. He had that forced fumble last week where he knocked Tommy Tremble out and pretty much knocked himself out as well, obviously, now that they're saying he's going to be out with concussion. But not only that, man, I mean, Jaquan Brisker, since day one, since he got here as a rookie, has been kind of like the fire for this team. I mean, he's a little spark of energy. He loves football. He loves to play football. You could tell that. He tries to get these guys motivated every single game. Like you said, he's almost seems like he's becoming kind of a captain. Now, I know that Matt Eberflus and the Bears came out and said that Elijah Hicks is going to be the starting safety in this game. But Sean, let's face it. I mean, the Bears don't really have, I mean, besides your big boys like Brisker and Jalen Johnson, whenever they fill a position, it's kind of like all hands on deck, right? We've seen this before. You're going to see Jonathan Owens in this game. There's absolutely no doubt about it. You saw Jonathan Owens last week with Brisker, when Brisker was still playing. I mean, you saw Jalen Jones last week when all their corners were healthy. I mean, this is just something the Bears do. They give guys plays off. They give guys breathers. You're going to see Owens on the field. You're going to see Elijah Hicks on the field. We also can't be too hasty to judge Elijah Hicks last year. He was rookie last year, correct? That's when he.
I believe so.
Yeah. So I mean, there's growing pains in the NFL, especially for the secondary. Man, secondary is just a tough position to play in the NFL. And it's very tough. I think it might actually be the toughest position in football, and it's tough to transition from collegiate level to the NFL. I think that those guys, I don't think you're going to notice a huge difference. You'll probably see some plays given up, or you'll think in the back of your head, man, I wonder if that would have happened if Jaquan Brisker was here. I don't expect Brian Thomas to have a Nico Collins type game. First of all, Brian Thomas is not Nico Collins. I think Nico Collins was making a case for himself that he's a top 5 receiver in the NFL this year before he got hurt. I think he's probably going to have a game somewhere between Nico Collins and Deontay Johnson. I don't think he's going to have 2 catches for 8 yards, whatever Deontay Johnson had last week. I think Brian Thomas will have a better game than that, but he's still on Jalen Johnson. It's a very tough matchup for him. I expect Christian Kirk to play a bigger role in this game. I think he's going to be because I think the Bears pass rush is getting better every week. They're averaging almost 3 sacks a week. Trevor Lawrence is going to have to get the ball out of his hands quickly, and Christian Kirk, that's his forte, man. He just gets open in the flat. He doesn't run. He doesn't not normally known for catching 40, 50, 60-yard passes. It's Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk are the ones that I'm going to be curious to what they do in this game for sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say Christian Kirk's kind of the linchpin, I think, this week. I'm going to be a little bit more concerned. I know Jalen Jones came in last week, and he was the highest rated Pro Football Focus on the Bears. I'm still going to be a little bit concerned if this heel injury for Kyler Gordon becomes any more significant, and he's in any risk of missing any time. He did practice limitedly, thank God, so that says there's a really good chance he's still going to play. I'm just praying that doesn't get worse, because not having Gordon, not having Brisker, I'm going to have to come back on air and change my prediction.
Yeah, well, and you know what, Sean? Not that it's obviously you never want to lose any of your starters to injury. It's not good for the Bears. You don't want to lose Jaquan Brisker. You don't want to lose Kyler Gordon. These guys have been injury prone since they got to the NFL. They've both suffered through injuries. I think that's why Ryan Poles did such a good job of building depth in the secondary. We talked about this before the season on this podcast. The Bears, the position we were least worried about on this team, or the position group, would be the secondary. I think that's where they're the deepest right now. I mean, I don't want to see any injuries on the Bears, but if we were going to see injuries on the Bears, that's probably where you'd want to see them, right? Either that or the wide receiver room, because they just have so many options. You don't want to see it on the defensive line. You don't want to see it on the offensive line. You don't want to see it to Caleb Williams. So this is probably best case scenario for the Bears. I mean, every team deals with injuries. We just talked about it before the show started here, Sean. I've never seen this many injuries in the NFL in my life. This is it's getting crazy. It's getting ridiculous. But if the Bears were going to lose one guy this game, one key piece to their defense, I guess I'd say I'm kind of happy it's one of the safeties, just because you don't want to lose Jalen Johnson. You don't want to lose Montez Sweat. You don't want to lose Tremaine Edmonds or TJ Edwards. I think Jaquan Brisker makes a huge impact for this team. He's a great player, but I don't think you'll notice him missing as much as you would notice somebody like Montez Sweat or somebody like that. But like you said, Sean, I mean, these guys are here for a reason. They're the starters for a reason. That's not good. You never want to lose one of your starters.
It's a downgrade. I mean, not only that, Brisker's made tremendous strides in his coverage this year. He's made tremendous strides playing close to the line of scrimmage, creating havoc in the backfield. I mean,
one thing I will say about Jaquan Brisker, and as much as I love him, he's a great player. He has not been good this year at stopping the run, man. He's taken bad routes. Justin talked about this last week. If you watched that play last week,
he got blazed by Chuba.
Chuba Hubbard 30-yard touchdown. Jaquan Brisker just took a bad angle at that gap. That was Jaquan Brisker's gap to fill. He took a bad angle, and Chuba Hubbard ran right by him. Now, I'm sure that Elijah Hicks or Jonathan Owens, you're probably going to give up more in the passing game, but I would hope that they take better angles than Jaquan Brisker has been doing this season. And that's no detriment to Jaquan Brisker. He's young. He could still improve that. There's no doubt about that. He's good in the box. If Jaquan hits you, you feel it. He's good at hitting people. But ultimately, what's up, Mass? Ultimately, Dano, nice to see you, brother. Ultimately, like I said, I don't think this is the biggest loss in the world for the Chicago Bears. It's definitely going to hurt them a little bit, but I don't think it's like enough to make them lose this game. There's no excuses. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 1-4 football team. You need to go out there and beat them.
You want to know? I wanted to touch on this on the defensive line really quick. Dano came. Oops, that's not the right one. Saying I do agree. I wish we had a little bit more depth, but I was scrolling through the internet today and I just happened to see this, and I kind of wanted to share it because we've been talking about Dexter for the entire offseason into this season, and he's been living up to what he was supposed to be. And I know people probably don't remember this, but before he had his last bad year at Florida, he was a projected first-round pick. But Chris Jones, in his first 5 games of his second season, had 3.5 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, and 12 pressures. Javon Dexter, in his first 5 games of his second season, 4 sacks, 5.5 quarterback hits, or 5 quarterback hits, and 15 pressures. I'm not calling him Chris Jones, but I'm saying he's been everything that we thought he was going to be, and he continues to get better. And that interview that he had the other day, when he talked about his deficiencies, when he said, I understand I still have a problem with my pad level and not getting down low enough to attack at the right level all the time, that just shows his self-awareness of what he needs to improve. I love this kid, man. I absolutely love Javon Dexter, man. I'm very happy that the Chicago Bears grabbed him up, man.
Yeah, I also agree with Dan. I wish we had more depth at the position. I'm not a big fan of Chris Williams. I didn't like them adding him late in the offseason. I don't think he's a very good player. Coming into the season, Sean, I think it's fair to say that most Bears fans were pretty much like, well, I'm not really worried about Montez Sweat. I'm not really worried about Andrew Billings. He's going to do their job. Everybody else kind of worries me a little bit. I'd say it's safe to say that Javon Dexter has now added his name to that list. I mean, I think this is kind of who he is, and I if anything, I think he has room to improve. I think at the end of the day, Javon Dexter ultimately will get better. I think right now it's now Montez Sweat, Andrew Billings, and Javon Dexter you're not worried about on that defensive line. Everybody else, I like Darrell Taylor a lot. I do, and I think he was a good addition for this team, and he's been pretty good. But there are times this year where he's disappeared as well.
I will say this, because the Bears defense has been so dominant. And let's just take a look at their dominance here. Right now, they're they've allowed 15.5 points per game over the last 6. Through 5 games this year, they're averaging 17. I mean, this is 11 games of under 18 points. They right now through 5 weeks are allowing opponents average passer rating of 68.2. That's first in the league. They have 5 forced fumble recoveries. That's first in the league. 54% pass rush win rate. That's second. 6 interceptions. That's fourth. 174 passing yards allowed per game. That's sixth. 17 points allowed per game. That's fifth. And 294.8 yards total, which is seventh. So for me, I understand there is some Jacksonville Jaguar power players here like Kirk and Thomas and Bigsby and NTN if he's healthy. I still think the Bears are going to figure out a way to dominate this football game. I've seen Jacksonville. I understand what they did last week, but if you look at Jacksonville and you look at Jacksonville's history versus Indianapolis, those games between those two teams are generally shootouts, high-scoring affairs. This ain't the Colts defense that Trevor Lawrence is going to be facing. So for me, I'm gonna give Jacksonville a couple of touchdowns in this game because Jacksonville has Tank Bigsby. The Bears are allowing 120 yards on the ground a game. I think he might have the ability, especially with Brisker missing. We don't know how good Hicks will be stepping up, filling up those gaps. I'm going to give Bixby a big day here. I'm going to take the Bears myself in this game to win 27-14. And I just think that they have too much offensively. They don't have enough defensively. The Bears have too much defensively. and I still think Trevor Lawrence is just okay. So,
Well, I'll tell you this, Sean. The key to this game on Sunday is 100%. You have to get after Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you absolutely have to make him uncomfortable. Not only that, but you have to get the Jacksonville Jaguars third and long, because I do not trust this Bears defense to stop Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne from getting first downs if it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. I just don't think the Bears are right now are good enough to stop the run. You have to get them in 3rd and long. Actually, if you look at the Jaguars on the season right now, they are 14 for 54 on 3rd down. That's not good, guys. Their opponents are 30 for 68, so almost 50% their opponents are completing on 3rd down. The Bears are going to score points. The problem I have in this game right now is until the Bears can prove to us, we talked about this last week, at some point this run defense for the Chicago Bears is going to come and bite them in the ass. It's going to happen, guys, at some point. You're going to face a team that can run the ball, and they're going to run, first down, run, first down, run, first down. And the second that you commit to stopping the run and you bring both safeties up, then they're going to hit you over the top. And Trevor Lawrence is capable of doing that. I'm not saying by any means necessary I think the Bears are going to lose this game, because I don't. I think ultimately the Bears win this game. I just think it's going to be a much closer game than people think. And like I said, once again, guys, these London games, these overseas games are weird. They're strange. It's not just because people are like, oh, well, how can you say that just by the location in which they play? It's not just location, guys. They're getting used to a totally different schedule over there. I mean, this game's going to be played at 8:30 in the morning and Central Time. But Sean, what time? Do you know what time that is over in London? I mean, isn't it like 7 p.m.?
I believe it's a 5-hour difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I mean, these guys are basically, people in London may be used to watching sports around that time on television, but for the Bears, I mean, it's like, wake up, eat your breakfast, and go play a football game. That's tough, man. You don't do that many times in your life.
It's a 6-hour difference, Kyle. It's 12:26 a.m. there right now.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just tough. It's just tough. It's tough to adjust your body to that schedule in less than a week, and it's just, I think that's why some of these guys come out flat. Some of these games just look kind of wonky. There's a lot of mistakes made, and like we said, the Jacksonville Jaguars are used to going over there and doing this. For them, it's like they're home away from home. They've done this before. It doesn't bother them. But ultimately, Sean, I do obviously have the Bears winning this game. I think the Bears will win this game 24-20. I think it's going to be much closer than people think.
Hey, and you know what? I don't have a problem with that, because I don't think the Bears are going to blow everybody out. I just think what the Bears have been good at and getting better at, meaning number 18 under center. This secondary sucks. It's really bad. I mean, they are getting exploited by every single team that they've played this year. And I just happen to think that Caleb Williams is going to build off that success, that confidence that he gained against Carolina. I think he's going to smash this team.
It's certainly not going to get easier this week for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, they're about to face Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Cole Kmet. I mean, that's a tall task for a team that's allowing the most passing yards in the NFL. And Sean, you know what? I'm not saying that the Bears haven't won this year because of Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams has played a huge role in winning games for the Bears this year. But this might be the game where they're going to have to win solely because of Caleb. I mean, he's going to have to carry this team on his back, because if the Jacksonville Jaguars shut down the run like they've been doing all season, once again, guys, they're 8th in rush yards allowed per game. If they do that to the Bears, who are not very good at running the ball, which we've talked about numerous times the Bears right now are ranked 29th in the NFL, guys, out of 32 teams at 95.4 rushing yards per game. That is not good. So the only thing that worries me about the Bears this week is even if you ultimately have to win by passing the ball, do not abandon the rush. Do not abandon the run game. Like, the Bears cannot do that. Dustin talked about this last week. They averaged 3.5 yards per carry last week, guys. That's not good in the NFL. Today's NFL, where all these rules have been changed so that the offense scores points, so the game's more exciting. But it's enough. It's enough. Average. It's enough to commit to the run. 3.5 is enough to commit the run, because if you get 3.5 yards per carry on every single carry, that's a first down every 3 carries. So that ultimately that will lose you the game. I mean, they'll lose the defense the game. They're going to have to stop the Bears from running the ball. But man, I wouldn't be surprised at all, Sean, if you see a lot of 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 for the Chicago Bears this week. Caleb Williams is going to have to come to play today or on Sunday for sure, no doubt about it. I think this is ultimately going to be the most important game Caleb Williams has played in the NFL this year.
Well, and I will tell you this, and I meant to touch on this when we were talking about the safety position. Kevin Byard right now is ranked as the 6th best. I can't talk today. The 6th best safety in the league He has one interception. He's only allowed 34 yards in coverage, and he has a missed tackle percentage of 3.1%. He's been everything that the Bears, that Ryan Poles. I mean, this is a grand slam home run signing, and I think he's done a lot this year. He's going to have to do a little bit more this Sunday, possibly.
Yeah. And
to check the middle of that field.
Sean, you asked us last week, you said, what was the thing you took away from that game? The one thing you took away from that game. I mean, there's so many things that were fun to watch last week against the Panthers. I mean, obviously the Bears just crushed them, but what stood out to me the most was the play of Javon Dexter and Kevin Byard. I mean, Kevin Byard, what an upgrade over Eddie Jackson.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Kevin Byard is absolutely amazing. I mean, Eddie Jackson couldn't tackle anybody to save his life, and here you have Kevin Byard, who's not only one of the hardest hitting safeties in the NFL, but the guy is a ball hawk as well. I mean, I think right now since 2016 or something like that, I think Kevin Byard is leading all safeties and taking the ball away. So he's going to have to play a good game this week for sure, because Sean, like we just talked about, Brian Thomas Jr. and Christian Kirk are no scrubs, and Evan Ingram's coming back this week too, and he's no scrub either, man. I believe he had the most targets of any tight end in football last year, and it was something astronomical. It's ridiculous. It was like a number one receiver numbers almost, and he's been good in the NFL for basically the entirety of his career. He just had problems staying healthy, but last year when he was healthy all season, he was very, very good, and that's. I don't ever want to see anybody hurt, and I want to see the Bears play people at their best, but it's unfortunate that, of course, he's coming back this week to play the Chicago Bears. Why wouldn't that be the way it goes for the Bears? That seems like it's always the way that goes for the Bears.
The two things that I would like to see last week we had 75 offensive snaps. 60 of them were with more Allen Odunze and Kmet on the field. I wanted to continue to see that. And for the love of everything holy, if you have a 4th and 1, bring in Doug Kramer. Just get the freaking first down. Don't get cute. Just bring in Doug Kramer, let him plow the line, and get the damn first down. Enough of this crap. I understand that the line cleared out, which they did, and Roshan took a bad angle. But guess what? You don't even have that opportunity if you have Doug Kramer, because he's going to clear out everything and get him first down. So let's cute.
And Sean, I mean, you could say this, people, it's so cliche to say this, guys. You could say this about every football game in the NFL every Sunday, but a huge battle in this game is going to be the Bears offensive line versus the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line. Now, first of all, the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line is not one of the top defensive lines in football. So if the Bears are average to above average, they should be able to stop them. The thing that scares me about the Jacksonville Jaguars is Trayvon Walker, man. I mean, the guy was drafted number 1 overall in 2022.
Yeah,
since that pick, he has not looked good, right? He has not, well, at least not looked like the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. But Sean, this year, he's looking like he should have been the number 1 pick in the 2022 NFL draft. Do you know how many sacks he has this season, Sean?
I do not, actually.
Trayvon Walker this season has 5 sacks. So that puts him on pace for well over 15 sacks this season. I mean, he's been a wrecking ball this year. I didn't write them down, but you looked at the rest of his numbers, tackles for loss, so on and so forth. He's having an absolutely amazing season. And unfortunately, he's probably going to get matched up against Braxton Jones, which scares the absolute hell out of me.
Well, I'll tell you this. I said it against the Rams, and I'll say it again. What was his name?
Jared Verse.
Jared Verse. He was a game wrecker, and he was trying to wreck that game. This could be the same with Walker in this game. That's going to be key. Bring someone in, chip him out, get the ball out quick, run at him, see if you can tire him out.
Yeah, I'd like to see some help over there for the Chicago Bears this week, man. You got to get Cole Kmet or Mercedes Lewis or Gerald Everett over there chipping. Maybe even when the running backs out of the backfield, chip them on their way by. But you cannot just let Trayvon Walker sit there and eat, man, because I'm telling you right now, I don't hate Braxton Jones. I don't think he's the worst tackle in football, but he is probably average to below average at this point in his career. He has not made the progressions we thought he was going to make. He's probably who we think he is. This is probably who he's going to be for the rest of his career. And if they don't help him out, Trayvon Walker will absolutely destroy him on Sunday. And that could be like you said, Sean, that could be a game wrecker. They need to help him. Trayvon Walker looks like everything they drafted him to be this year.
Hey, is there anything else we got before we flip the script on this Ideal Amusement Chicago Bears London preview Wednesday?
Yeah, real quick, I just want to say to all the listeners out there, guys, River Street Tavern will be open this Sunday at 8 a.m. So if you're looking for a place to catch the game, I know a lot of bars are not going to open early for this game. If you're looking for a place to catch the game, if you're in the area, 102 North River Street in East Dundee, River Street Tavern will be open at 8 a.m. So if you're looking for a spot to watch the game, that's the spot to be, guys.
They will have food, but it'll be a limited menu, but they will have food.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to flip this really quick. We got about 30 minutes left. We're going to get into some smash plays, some prop bets, and we had a great week in Cashman passed them last week. We missed on Seattle -6.5, and I still don't know how the Giants won that freaking football game. And my not my boy, but my boy that cost me $476, Mr. Wicks, dropping balls, should have had about 130 receiving yards, ended up with about 30. So I apologize for that one, but we did hit the Bears -4. We had Seattle, Kansas City under 43.5. We had Brian Thomas Jr. over 49. We had Jaden Reed over 70. We had Aaron Rodgers over 225 passing. We had Lazard over 33.5. And ladies and gentlemen, he also dropped 3 passes, but he caught one as the game was ending that got him to 34 that got the hit. So it wasn't what we thought, but he still
and
got
guys,
it.
Sean's talking about New Orleans and Kansas City, guys. He took the under. Yeah, Sean, you actually said,
sorry. What did I say?
Seattle, Kansas City. It wasn't 2 separate games. He was talking about the Monday night game, New Orleans and Kansas City. They took the under, and Sean took the under, and he smashed that. Sean has been amazing this week, guys. He probably had his best week last week. Yep. Those bets, if you guys are ever looking for them, are on our Facebook page, 4-Star Chicago Sports.
Yep.
You guys can go check them out. Like I said, I think, Sean, you went 7 for 9 last week, correct?
7 for 9, yeah, and we forgot. And my favorite one was Derrick Henry because we had him at 82, and Kyle was with me, and I'm sweating this out at 50 yards or 40 yards he was at. I'm like, you gotta be shitting me.
Thank God for overtime, huh?
Thank God for overtime. But didn't I call it? I'm like, I need overtime. He can take care of this in one freaking run, man. And boom. Yeah.
Sean, let's hear. We'll do some of your bets here, and then we'll dig into fantasy football, guys. But Sean, let's hear some of your bets.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm smashing the Bears. And if you want my parlay that I already laid, I took the Bears minus the 2.5. I think I got them at 2.5. It opened at 1.5, but I didn't get it there. I think it moved up to 2.5. But they have Caleb Williams over 234 yards passing and DJ Moore over 59 receiving. I already have that bet in. I love this. I think the Bears are going to pass all day. So, and to further that, Jacksonville, Flacco 359, Pierce had 134 and 69, Stroud 345, Collins 159, Diggs 69, Allen 263, Shakur 72, Tua 338, Tyreek 130, Waddle 109. I mean, Jacksonville sucks. Their secondary is awful. So, you know what? The only way this doesn't hit is if it's Roma Dunze who goes off instead of DJ.
You know, Sean, I like the bets. I do, especially after the numbers you just laid out there. I mean, how bad their secondary, the Jacksonville Jaguars secondary, is absolutely incredible. But like I said, guys, I like Sean's bets. If you guys are gamblers, I have no problem taking those bets, but I personally do not like betting on any of the games overseas, guys. That's just me, guys. I just don't like that. Those games are wonky. They're awkward. Weird things happen. They're on a different schedule. These guys just aren't. They're not getting. These guys are pretty much all major league players. Baseball, football, basketball. They're all very, very used to routine, guys. I mean, they basically do the same thing every Sunday before they play their game. This is going to be a totally different routine for them, man. They're going to be up basically Central Time. They'll be up at what? Probably, you're going to say, 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning to start practice before the game. I mean, it's going to be an interesting game over there. Sean, what else do you got for us?
I mean, Cole Kmet too, over 28.5. That number's so low for him. It just looked really sexy when I was looking at it. I have not placed that bet yet. Jacksonville, and the reason I haven't is because I haven't looked how Jacksonville has done against the tight ends. But 28 receiving yards for Cole Kmet. I mean, I think he's went 50, 57, 34, 90 in his last 3, something like that. The Jags are giving it up. So, I mean, he's getting the targets. It's one that I'm really looking at, and I'll probably end up.
Sean, they are. So I looked up Cole Kmet on Yahoo Fantasy. Jacksonville is ranked pretty well against the position. They're a bad matchup, they say, for Cole Kmet. But they also have him projected to score 8 points. So that's somewhere around 40, 50 yards, right? So, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, maybe
28 yards is not a lot, dude.
They are ranked 10th versus the position. The actual Jaguars ranked 10th versus tight ends this season. So at least it's not single digit ranking, because you never want them to be ranked 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th against position. That usually means it's going to be a long day for your fantasy players. What else you got, Sean? Let's get into some of these other games. You got any other games
Ooh.
coming up? I know you got the Thursday night game, right?
I do, because I'm going to save my main event for later. I love Jordan Mason over 81.5. Seattle's
Sean, is that what? Did you change that, or did you get Jordan? That's what they gave him you at? 81
that's
and
where
a
he
half?
opened. That's where he opened at. I don't know if it's changed. Has it
I could have
changed?
sworn I got him less than that, man. Maybe I'm going to double check here. Sorry, Sean. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, it might have moved. It might have moved or fluctuated because I looked at it. Let's say 2 hours ago, maybe an hour ago, something like that. It wasn't that long ago. But Seattle's giving up the 13 most rushing yards per game at 128. They've given up some big runs. Gibbs had 78. Monty had 40. Tyrone Tracy Jr. a $129. Gibson and Stevenson 96 and 81. San Francisco or Seattle's defense is decent, but Jordan Mason is a beast. I like him. I'm rolling with him. He's
Sean. Sean, so I bet this on Monday. I'm assuming this is when the lines came out.
Yeah.
You guys, I took their over under. I didn't change anything. I took their suggested over under. And obviously the money's coming in on the over because I got Jordan Mason over 65.5 rushing yards.
Holy Nikes, that's a good deal.
Yeah, I don't know
it's
if you could.
Great deal.
I don't know if you could see it or not, Sean. Over 65.5, and then I've got Jason Myers. Jason Myers over 1.5 field goals tomorrow night as well. So I just did the 2-leg parlay.
I'm going to look right now in here on Thursday night and see.
I'm on DraftKings. I don't know what. Did you do DraftKings or FanDuel?
Yeah, I'm on DraftKings. His rushing over under now, guys, is up to 82.5. So
yeah, so obviously the money's coming in.
Yeah. So
yeah, I always check you guys always check the Thursday game Monday night because that's usually when they put most of those lines out, and they're always better when they first come out because as soon as the money starts coming in, guys, Vegas will start adjusting. They always do, and they're very good at it. They have a lot of algorithms and people studying all that stuff to try to get that number as precise and perfect as they possibly can. So try to get them early because they do make mistakes just like everybody else.
Here's another one. I love Kenneth Walker this week. He opened at 54.5. That was on FanDuel. I'm on DraftKings right now. He's at 63.5, but I still love that number. He's cleared that in 2 of 3 games. He's averaging 67.3 yards over his last 3 games. The Niners are allowing 4.7 yards per carry in the 13th. That's 13th most in the league. So this is something that I'm liking. I love Kenneth Walker. I think the guy's a beast. The Niners defense is obviously reeling. They just got shredded by James Conner last week and Kyron Williams the week before. They have not played well against running backs in their own division. Let's make it 3 in a row. I'm going to smash that even.
I would have felt more comfortable about all these overs for Seattle if DK Metcalf didn't come out and open his mouth like that. That scares me, man. I mean, I feel like this San Francisco team is one of those teams that's primed to get better at any given moment, guys. Maybe it's just because we're so used to it, to the 49ers being so consistently good. So maybe it's not going to happen, and I'm just used to it in the past. But I do expect them at some point to become a good team in the NFL. Real quick, guys, I just want to say thanks a lot to Breaking News Bruce. Appreciate you, Lauren, Elizabeth, Dano, Aunt Mass. We appreciate all you guys. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate you watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you can, guys. Share us, push us out as much as you possibly can. We appreciate you guys. Sean, what else you got?
Well, let's see what else. I'm trying to look here. Well, guys, I'm going to go back to this well again. I'm taking Derrick Henry over 82.5 rushing yards. If they're going to keep giving it that low, I'm going to keep smashing.
I don't understand that. Like, I don't know if they're just like afraid that if they go any higher, people be afraid to bet it or what. But like, Derrick Henry's got to be like laughing if he sees this stuff. Like, it's got to be an insult. I mean, Derrick, has he had a game without 82 rushing yards? Does he have one without?
I will say this though. If he doesn't have overtime, he was about 45 yards under this last week.
Yeah, but that was more because of game script, Sean. I mean, the Bengals were scoring so fast that almost the Ravens had no option but to throw the ball.
Hey, just so you know, I'm looking at it right now, and Derrick Henry is down a yard from where it opened. He's down to 81.5.
I will be taking, and I'm going to take Derrick Henry's anytime touchdown score every single week this year, guys. I would do it every single week this year, guys. Take Derrick Henry anytime touchdown score, and I guarantee you, I can almost promise you guys, you will hit that over 50% of the time. So ultimately, you will win more money than you'll lose if you bet him every single week as an anytime touchdown score. Another guy who you could slip in that conversation, unfortunately, he's on a bye week this week, so you guys can't parlay them. But Kyron Williams also needs to be in that conversation. And that guy's had a touchdown in like 10 of his last 12 games going back to last season. So that's another guy you guys should be slipping in. He is clearly the best player on the Los Angeles Rams right now, and I expect him to continue to be for the rest of the season.
And here, the thing I took away when I was looking at spreads and stuff this week, and I haven't made any decisions on a lot of spreads and overs, unders, because dude, just look at these over and unders this week. Baltimore, Washington, 52.5. Dallas, Detroit, 52.5. Green Bay, Arizona, 49.5. The Giants, Cincinnati, 49. And Seattle, San Francisco at 49. These are some big over-unders. They're expecting some offensive explosions this week, man. This could be
Sean, it seems like the game is getting even more and more offensive than ever. I mean, there's a certain point where we're like, man, it can't get any better for the offenses, right? I mean, this is getting insane, but it seems like this year there's a lot of scoring going on. I mean, anytime you have a defense that's struggling, they're giving up 30 points a game almost every single time. I mean, I don't mind taking, especially for me in particular, the Detroit-Dallas game. I really like the over in that game because not only because Detroit and Dallas don't have good secondaries right now, but also because that game is in a dome and turf where both teams play better. Dallas needs a win, so they absolutely need to win. They have to come out at least score points. They're going to score points. Detroit almost can't be stopped by anybody in the NFL. That's one of the best offenses in the NFL. I like the over in that game a lot.
Yeah, the other over I like, and I hope I don't get bit on this because it's 53 points, I'm going to get a bowl of popcorn ready. I'm going to sit back on the couch, and I'm going to watch Lamar Jackson versus Jaden Daniels. I cannot wait to see this game. Stylistically, they match up against each other very, very well.
Yeah. And we'll get into that game more in our fantasy stardom sit-ups because there's a lot of stuff going on in that game on my fantasy stardom sit-up list, man.
Yeah,
those two teams secondary can't stop an nosebleed, so it's gonna be fun, man. That's gonna be a fun game.
And that's going to lead me to taking Jaden Daniels over 224 passing yards. He's averaging 237 through the air, and the Ravens defense gives up the second most passing yards on the season at 280.
That's another reason that's a great bet, guys, is because the Baltimore Ravens rush defense is absolutely amazing. Right now they're setting records. And so you expect the Commanders to be in third and long. They're going to throw the ball a lot. You just got to hope that this point in the season, Jaden Daniels look amazing. Please, Jaden, don't screw it up this game. Right. Our luck, Sean. It'll be the game he has 67 yards passing and 8 picks.
I'm also going to go to the well again with that team up north, and I accidentally said their name a few minutes ago, which I hate to do. I'm going to take Jaden Reed over 58 and a half receiving yards.
He's talking about Packers.
I'm actually beyond shocked that it's this low because
Sean, what do you got for his rushing receiving over under rushing? Do
rushing
they have that
receiving? I didn't look.
I don't know if they have that out. When I looked at these games on Monday or the Thursday night game on Monday, they didn't have any rush plus receiving yards out.
They might not. I don't
know if they're not doing it
tomorrow. Let's see. Rush plus receiving. Oh, they have it out, but they don't. They only have Josh Jacobs, nobody else.
Of course, because if Jaden Reed's low on there, I would definitely take that. Jaden Reed is a weapon.
Yeah.
He's not a receiver. He's a weapon.
I mean, he's gone for $138, $139, and 78, and he's averaging 5 catches a game. 58 receiving yards against Arizona secondary in Green Bay.
Sean, I'm not gonna lie, I did not expect to see this coming into the season, but I truly, honestly believe that Jaden Reed is the best player on the Green Bay Packers. I really do. I think if he ever gets hurt, they're in trouble, man. They're in big trouble because I don't think Christian Watson's the guy I thought he was going to be. I think Dontavian Wicks is inconsistent. I think Josh Jacobs is kind of a one-trick pony. I mean, right now, I don't think it's close. I think Jordan Love is a little overrated, you guys. I'm not saying Jordan Love's not a good player. I think he is, but I think he's certainly no Aaron Rodgers, guys. And I've heard a lot of Packers fans saying that he is. He's not Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers has 4 3-interception games in his career. Jordan Love has 2 this season. I mean, he is certainly not Aaron Rodgers, but I think that Jaden Reed is the best player on that team. And I'm going to take Gene Reed on his overs probably most weeks, unless they're playing a really, really stout pass defense. I'm going to take him most weeks on his overs.
I have to defend my guy because I feel like I'm doing this every week. Don't give up on Breece Hall. Don't give up on Breece Hall, people. I'm going to tell you why. Weeks 1 through 5 in 2023, he was RB23, 10.9 points per game. Weeks 6 through 18, 16.5 RB5. This year, he's got that same trend. Weeks 1 through 5, 12.2, RB22.
Well, Sean, do you have any more bets? Because if that could lead me right into my stardom sit-ins here in fantasy.
No, go ahead. I'm looking for some as we talk.
You guys, my smash play of the week, of the entire week, over for running backs, receivers, quarterbacks, everybody, is Breece Hall against the Buffalo Bills, guys. I cannot relate to you guys how bad this Buffalo Bills rushing defense is. It is 31st against the position in the NFL out of 32 teams, and excluding last week where they were playing the Texans, who were playing Cam Akers, and I don't even know how to say the other guy's name, but it wasn't Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon had a better game than Cam Akers had last week. He's not. Yeah, they're not the same player. But you go to the week before that, where the Buffalo Bills were matched up against the Baltimore Ravens. Derrick Henry carried the ball 24 times for 199 yards and a touchdown, and caught 3 passes for 10 yards and a touchdown. So 2 touchdowns and almost 200 yards rushing. Breece Hall, this is going to be his breakout game. Breece Hall is going to absolutely kill it this week. If you guys have him at fantasy, start him. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm kind of leaning towards Braylon Allen. I don't feel like Breece Hall is getting used right. I don't care. It doesn't matter if he's not getting used right. The Buffalo Bills cannot stop the run. He's going to absolutely destroy him this week. And I know that for a fact because I'm playing against him in fantasy. So for definitely 100%, he's going to go off this week. My other stardom for the week for running backs, guys, I know this is another one where people are like kind of starting to fade away from him a little bit. But I think Bijan Robinson versus the Carolina Panthers, I think this is a get-right game for Bijan Robinson. And like I just mentioned, guys, Buffalo is ranked 31 versus the position, versus running backs. Guess who's 32, guys? The Carolina Panthers. Carolina gives up 20 more rushing yards per game at home than they do on the road. And this game is going to be in Carolina. I fully expect Bijan Robinson to have his breakout game this year. I think there's a possibility, Sean, that if you had both Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier in fantasy football, I think you might be able to start both of them. I think there's a good possibility you might be able to start both of them. And, I think it's safe to say that the same could be said for Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. Sean, would you be surprised? Would you be surprised at all? So imagine this, guys. So this is what I see happening in that Jets game. I think Breece Hall is going to do all the work. He's going to get 5 or 6 catches. He's going to get a bunch of yards. He's going to get a ton of rushing yards. And I think Braylon Allen is going to score the touchdowns. I think that's what this offense is going to start to do. The Jets just fired their head coach, guys. It's going to look like a different team on Sunday. I think these guys are going to get more into that thunder lightning kind of roles. And I think Braylon Allen's going to start to become the goal line back, which I think he should have been from day one. I mean, Sean, how big is Braylon Allen? He's like, what, 235 pounds?
Yeah, he's a big boy, man.
Yeah, he should be their goal line back. He should have been their goal line back to start the season. They did try
him the other last week, I believe, and he got stuffed.
Yeah, but the Minnesota Vikings are a very, very good run defense. You can't just give him 3 runs against Minnesota and be like, well, he didn't get in, so his career's over for goal line carries. Like, it's just, he is a very good. He's going to end up being a very good player in the NFL, and I think he's good, an absolute mammoth of a man. I would not shy. If you guys have nothing else, if you have nothing else on your team, I would have no problem personally starting Breece Hall and flexing Braylon Allen. It's the same to be said with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. I think both of them. I think if you had all 4 of those guys in your fantasy team, you might be able to play all 4 of them. Now, it's pretty rare that people have Bijan and Breece on the same team, but if you do, play all 4 of them. Sean, do you want to do any stardom running backs before I get into my sit-ems for running backs?
I have my running backs down on the bottom. My plays of the week, obviously Derrick Henry. I do want to let everybody know, because this came to light, there is an injury to one James Cook. Severity has not been established yet, but they are saying it could, if it's bad enough, it could be a month. If I'm going to say anything to anybody, check out Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, especially with bye weeks coming up. And one other guy I want to say, and I know Tyrone Tracy Jr. had a great game last week, but Eric Gray, if Singletary is out again, Eric Gray's going to get some love in that offense. He made the most of every opportunity. These are desperate darts. There's a lot of injuries, and we got bye weeks.
Yeah, and one more to that point, guys. I'm glad Sean brought that up because I believe that Jonathan Taylor is going to miss this game again. I think he's going to miss a second consecutive game. I think he should because I don't know if you guys remember, but last year Jonathan Taylor dealt with a high ankle sprain. They brought him back too early. He ended up missing more time. I think he's going to miss this game coming up Sunday. Trey Sermon, it popped up on the injury report today. He is questionable in this game. He did not practice today. So if both those guys are out, keep your eyes on Goodson and Hall. Evan Hall, I think his name is his name. Both those guys will probably get carries in this game. And if they do, if Trey Sermon and Jonathan Taylor miss out, I expect Goodson to have a very good game. I think if you're desperate for a fantasy player and you need somebody, you got a bunch of buys or you got a bunch of injuries, keep your eyes on those guys. Is anybody else, Sean, before I get into the sit-em of the week here?
No, I'm sitting okay. I'm good at running backs.
You guys, my sit-em of the week, number one sit-em of the week is going to be Brian Robinson versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are actually ranked fourth versus the position. Really, they're not first versus the position, but that fantasy, there's a lot of, first of all, especially PPR leagues, the Ravens do allow running backs to catch the ball a little bit, not too much, but a little bit out of the backfield. But the reason I don't like Brian Robinson in this game is, first of all, the Baltimore Ravens, I've said it before, I'll say it again, guys, they're giving up 60.4 rushing yards per game. I mean, that is legendary. I mean, that's historical. I haven't seen anything like that since watching football, at least as far back as I can remember. Maybe I'm wrong, but to give up 60 rushing yards per game is absolutely phenomenal in today's NFL, where all these rules are made to help the offense. Also, I thought, it's when Brian Robinson or when Austin Eckler was out a couple weeks ago, McNichols came in, and I figured it was just because he came in to spell Austin Eckler and spell Brian Robinson and cover for Austin Eckler. But they used McNichols last week as well, man. And they had all three of those guys healthy. Now, maybe Austin Eckler was a little bit banged up, so they didn't want to give him too much work. But McNichols continues to run well, and he keeps scoring touchdowns. So now you have it's going to be a trifecta of Brian Robinson, McNichols, and Eckler, and they're going against one of the best rushing defenses as far as I can remember in NFL history. I don't like Brian Robinson this week at all, guys. If you have something else, another player on your bench, throw him in. Another guy I do not like this week, guys, is Rico Dowell against the Detroit Lions. I don't know. People could say whatever they want about the Detroit Lions secondary. They're leaky. They give up huge plays, but their run defense has been sneakily really good this year, guys. They're actually ranked fifth against the position, so right behind the Ravens there. The Cowboys have been abandoning the run in almost every single game this season, except for last week against Pittsburgh. And when you play Pittsburgh, you expect it to be kind of one of those black and blue games where you're running the ball, playing defense. But besides that, they pretty much abandoned the run in every single game. And the Lions are giving up. And I know it sounds like a big number, but they're only giving up 90.8 rushing yards per game. Now, obviously, that's not comparable to the 60 yards per game that the Ravens are giving up, but it's still not good for the NFL, guys. Most teams should average well over 100 rushing yards per game between all the players, the quarterback and all the running backs. There's only 6 teams allowing less rushing yards than the Detroit Lions. I just don't think it's going to be a good week for Rico Dowell. I actually do like Rico Dowell a lot. I think he's becoming a very good player in the NFL, and I think he's the best Cowboys running back to have on your fantasy team. I just don't like him this week. Sean, let's hear your smash start of the week for wide receivers, man. I know that's your favorite position, so I know you got
one. I'm going to go to the well, man. Like
DJ.
No, I really, 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 really like DJ Moore and Amon-Ra St. Brown and CeeDee Lamb this week. And I know these guys.
That's another fantasy player I'm going against.
These are big names, but CeeDee Lamb, I think him and Amon in that game, that's going to be a fun game to watch. I might even be looking at the over in that 52.5. Both secondaries suck, and both these guys know how to get open and make things happen. And DJ Moore, I just think him and Caleb are getting their chemistry. Those are my guys. And really quick before you get to your stardoms, I just want to throw out there, if you guys are desperate again at the wide receiver position, 2 guys I would suggest. Jalen Tolbert from the Cowboys. Number 1, Cooks is on IR. This guy's getting huge. I think he had 26% target share last week.
Yeah.
He's already has 2 games.
He's been really good, man.
Yeah, he's got 2 games over 80 yards.
Surprisingly good.
And one more. This is a sleeper. We'll see what he does. But former Iowa State product Xavier Hutchinson with Nico Collins on IR. This guy's got major talent, dude. He's a hell of a receiver. I'm not saying start him. I'm saying maybe you want to grab him and stash him with bye weeks coming up, especially knowing Nico Collins is out for a month.
Yeah, there's you could make an argument that Xavier Hutchinson, the second to last year before he graduated, was the best receiver in college football. He was putting up huge numbers at one point. I like Xavier Hutchinson a lot. I mean, you talk about luxuries in the NFL, man. That Texans wide receiver room is absolutely ridiculous. Sean, behind that, if Xavier Hutchinson, they got John Mechie Jr. sitting there, who's a second round pick from Alabama. At one point, people were saying, in that huge, great Alabama receiver group they had, he was probably the best. But then he had obviously guys after he got drafted. Unfortunately, he was diagnosed with cancer. He just hasn't been the same guy since. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if he came in and made some plays. Yeah, Sean, I like them a lot. Another guy I would keep an eye on, guys, if you're talking about if you're like really, really hurting, you got a lot of bye weeks, got a lot of injuries, is the New England Patriots finally made the move we all thought that they were going to make at some point. Jacoby Brissett has been benched. Drake May is going to be the quarterback for the New England Patriots, probably for the rest of the season. If Drake May is a good player, even serviceable, even just can get yards, maybe he's not going to win a ton of games. It's not a good enough team to do so. But if he could throw some yards in that offense, I think Jalen Polk and Demario Douglas are both serviceable fantasy players. I'm not telling you guys you're going to put them in your lineup and they're going to get you 40 points, but I think they're both capable of getting you 10 to 15 points any given Sunday. I would keep an eye on those two guys as well, especially if you're really hurting at wide receiver. Like Sean just mentioned, Nico Collins is on IR. I mean, just the amount of injuries this year in the NFL are absolutely ridiculous. I'm sure you guys are suffering just as much as we are. Sean, my wide receivers of the week, and you guys, my stardoms are always a little bit more kind of sneaky than Sean's. Obviously St. C. Lamb, DJ Moore, but we try to help you guys in your week-to-week fantasy leagues on FanDuel, DraftKings. We also try to help you guys in your year-long fantasy leagues. My stardom of the week for receivers is DJ Moore, guys. I think DJ Moore, like Sean just said, him and Caleb Williams obviously have established some rapport together. I also believe that the Chicago Bears offense is going to be ran through DJ Moore for the rest of the season, at least until they get that running game going.
As it should be.
If they could get that running game going, it would probably be ran through DeAndre Swift. But right now, DJ Moore is the most important player on the Bears offense. If he has a bad game, the Bears offense generally is probably going to have a bad game. I think DJ Moore is going to absolutely explode against Jacksonville. I think DJ Moore is going to have his best season as a professional this year. I think he's absolutely loves playing with Caleb Williams because he's probably never had a quarterback like this before. I would put DJ. We had a guy on this podcast a couple weeks ago, and I'm not throwing any shade, but he said sit all three Chicago wide receivers this week. Guys, I don't ever sit DJ Moore ever. I mean, he is. If you look back in the last 4 or 5 years, guys, he's been an absolute fantasy monster. I think he's actually like wide receiver 6 over the last 5 years or something like that. So do not bench DJ Moore ever. The other starter for this week, it's a little bit more sneaky, would be Zay Flowers versus Washington. I know Zay Flowers has been kind of up and down this season, guys, but Washington is very, very bad against the pass. They're ranked 27th versus the position. They don't have a good secondary. And there's going to be a lot of passing yards in this game because both teams are better at stopping the run than they are at stopping the pass. So I expect this game to be a shootout, just like the Baltimore Ravens were involved in last week with the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow last week threw for some ridiculous 392 yards and 5 touchdowns or something like that. Obviously, if Lamar Jackson can do something similar to that, Zay Flowers is going to eat up a big chunk of those yards. So Zay Flowers for sure. Start him this week if you guys got him. You guys, my sit of the week. This one might be obvious to most people, but he had a touchdown last week, so I don't know if people are starting to be a little more comfortable with him in their lineup. But and maybe he's going to get better as the season goes on. But this week, guys, do not start Keon Coleman against the Jets, and that's regardless of whether or not Shakir plays. It doesn't matter because Josh Allen is banged up, guys. So even if he does play, he might not be 100%. B, they're playing the New York Jets, who are ranked or who are let's see, what are they? 3rd versus the position this year. They have Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed as their number 1 and number 2 defensive backs who are very good, both good cornerbacks in the NFL. They're about to play under a new head coach. And I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but every time a team gets a new interim head coach or has to play for somebody else and things have not been going well, for some reason, it seems like that first week under a new head coach, they always play well. They're all in the mindset that they're going to change their season and they're going to become a better team. You guys saw it last year with the Oakland Raiders, or with the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, the second they made that coaching change, they played a lot better over. Yeah, I would totally expect the same thing. I didn't like the hiring of Pierce permanently in Vegas. I don't think that was a good idea for the Raiders. But you have to admit, he did have that team playing a lot better in the second half of the season. Another reason I don't like playing against Keon Coleman against the Jets is They held Justin Jefferson to under 100 yards. I know people are like, oh, big deal, under 100 yards. He had like 94. But Justin Jefferson, guys, he's capable of getting 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So if you can hold him to 100 yards, that's a win. I'm sorry, guys, but that's a win. I mean, Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in football, guys. And they also held Jordan Addison to 3 catches for 36 yards. So if you got Keon Coleman, you're thinking about starting him, I would suggest against it, guys. Sean, do you want to get your smash start of the week for quarterbacks?
For quarterback?
Quarterback.
You know what? I'm torn here, and they're all top guys, and that's what sucks. But I'm looking at Jaden Reed, and I'm looking at Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels, and I'm looking at Lamar Jackson. Like, wow, this is going to be a shootout. I also think that about Detroit, so I'm going to throw him. I'm throwing him back in my lineup. I'm going to go with Jared Goff having a big day versus Dallas, coming off the bye. Jameson Williams deep, Amon-Ra deep, or over the middle, whatever he does. Laporta gets involved. That's going to be a fun game, guys. I'm smashing Jared Goff. I'm probably going to smash his over passing, probably over 1.5 passing touchdowns as well. I don't want to say they're not going to run the ball, but I just think this is going to be this could turn out to be a track meet between these two teams.
No, Sean, I agree. If you look at years past, if you look at the last few years since the Lions have become a good football team, the Cowboys-Lions games are awesome. They're always awesome. Yeah. I don't know what it is about those two teams, but it's good for viewership for sure because they always have great games. My start of the week, my smash start of the week, guys, as Sean's just already said it 3 times here. Jaden Daniels versus Baltimore. I mean, how can you watch that Baltimore game last week and not to start Jaden Daniels? You know, I mean, like I said, guys, I'll say it again. Joe Burrow last week threw 392 yards and 5 touchdowns against this Baltimore Ravens secondary. If you have Jaden Daniels, I'm assuming you probably have another good quarterback because a lot of people didn't know what Jaden Daniels was going to be coming into the year, so they probably backed him up. Start him this week, guys. I don't care who your other quarterback is. Start him this week. And then, like I said, guys, for this game in particular, they're going to throw the ball a lot. Both these defenses are very, very good at stopping the run. Well, I mean, Baltimore is very good at stopping the run. The Commanders are much better at stopping the run than they are the pass. These teams are going to pass the ball a lot. That's going to be a really fun game to watch too, Sean. Yeah, my second start of the week, Sean, you kind of just alluded to it earlier. Dak Prescott versus Detroit, like we just said, this should be a high scoring game. I don't expect either of these secondaries to stop anything. Detroit secondary, I mean, you guys, for all these stardom sit-ems I have here, I usually have statistics underneath them. I wrote Dak Prescott versus Detroit. Detroit's 20th first position. And my keynote here is Detroit secondary is not good. They are absolutely atrocious, guys. And for some reason, it almost seems like they're getting worse, which is kind of surprising because they have a couple of young corners over there that should be getting better.
They should just throw out whoever Teron Arnold is covering because that guy sucks.
Yeah. I mean, Detroit secondary is not good, guys. It's not good. I do expect those young guys over there to get better at some point, but not this week. I don't.
Brian Branch should be back for Detroit. He wasn't out with her. He wasn't hurt. He was sick.
Yeah, that doesn't save them.
No,
it's not going to save them. And then you guys, my sit-em of the week, guys, and I don't even know if he's playing this week. I have to look to see if his injury update, but if he is, I'm not starting Justin Herbert versus Denver. I think some people did still draft the Justin Herbert as to be their number 1 quarterback, probably thinking that he was still going to be Justin Herbert. But if you knew anything about Jim Harbaugh, he runs the ball and stops the run. That's the type of coach he is. He likes that old style smash mouth football. And Justin Herbert is just the Denver Broncos have just been absolutely amazing against the pass this year, guys. What they're doing right now is also historic in the pass game. I'm hoping that slows down at some point because every time I have a fantasy player going against Denver, I pretty much am guaranteed to sit. But yeah, I would definitely sit Justin Herbert if he's playing this week against the Denver Broncos. Hopefully you got another quarterback, another option on your bench. Start him over.
I was going to say, if you drafted Herbert, hopefully you use the waiver wire to pick up Baker Mayfield or somebody like Justin Fields or something like that. I didn't like the preseason injury to Herbert. He just seems to always be banged up, man. I mean, he's got one hell of an arm, but that guy's always seems to have some kind of freaking ailment, man. And I'll tell you this, every week, my sit of the week is whoever is going up against Patrick Surtain.
Yep.
Don't do it, man. Just don't do it.
And, yeah, you guys, obviously we've already alluded to it on the show in case you guys didn't see it. We have our sit of the weeks every week. Like Zamir White is a sit of the week until he is gone and doesn't play in the NFL anymore. Just don't. That guy's absolutely awful. Don't think about trying to sneak him back in your lineup. He's not good. He's not a good football player. And there's other guys we've had on the list, two guys. They're just Christian Watson. And for me personally, is if I'm the Packers, I would be selling on that. But anything else, Sean, for stardom sit-ins?
No, I'm just looking over my list here, making sure I didn't forget anybody on this list, but it looks like it's good. I do have Geno Smith here. You know what? I wrote him down, but my bad, guys. I forgot to write his over/under for the game. He's averaging 293 passing yards a game, so I was actually probably going into something there, and I brain farted.
I think when I looked, his over/under was like 264 or maybe 246. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was nothing crazy. Yeah, guys, like we've been doing this since we started 4-Star Chicago Sports. Our first couple of weeks were a little rough on the stardom sit-ins and fantasy, but guys, we have gotten better throughout the weeks. The last few weeks, we've been given some pretty good starts. And, guys, obviously they're not all going to be like we gave you the smash start from Marvin Harrison. He still had like a 12, 13 point fantasy day. It wasn't awful. He didn't ruin. If you won your matchup, he certainly contributed. You're not always going to nail him, but we are getting better every week, guys. The more these teams, you start to see some patterns, the more consistent these teams get, the easier it is to do this stuff. But real quick, guys, just my smash start of the weeks, Breece Hall, DJ Moore, and Jaden Daniels. And then my biggest sits of the week would be Brian Robinson Jr., Keon Coleman, and Justin Herbert. Besides that, Sean, that's pretty much all I got for fantasy.
Hey, man, this was fantastic. We got the Bears across the pond on an ideal amusement Bears preview Wednesday. Our predictions are at the bottom. Kyle's 24-20. I got the Bears beating their breaks a little bit more, 27-14. And we have Brando and Dustin will be on the bare minimum breaking down this game tomorrow night after the Thursday night Seattle-San Francisco tilt. And Kyle and I are going to hop over to CSP, but that show's actually going to be recorded and released later on in the evening, so we will not be live. So just take a look at CSP. Check us out there. We got one thing left to do.
Anything you want to get out there before you wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right. Yeah.
Let's... Sean, you got the you got fire here, man. Play that.
Oh yeah.
That's my favorite, man.
Well,
I love the mic. I love the mic'd up shit. It's my favorite.
32, we got fucking fire, man. I know it. Here we go.
I don't know why I like it so much, but
They talked about that on the radio, man, today a lot. That was actually
some of my favorite videos from the Bears this year, man. I love that.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining us on an Ideal Amusement Chicago Bears Preview Wednesday. Thank you to River Street. Don't forget, they will be open this Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Limited menu. Kyle won't be there, and I probably won't be either, but there'll be plenty of other pretty faces hanging around, and they'll also have a jersey raffle. I can't remember who it was. Was it Odunze that was hanging up? I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, it's either usually Roma Dunze or Caleb Williams. Real quick, guys, I'd like to say, obviously thank you to the listeners, guys. Bernie Duplessis, Elizabeth, Aunt Mass, Lauren. But if you guys see on the screen here, Bruce has officially changed his name, guys, to Breaking News. The change is official. He is officially Breaking News Bruce. We appreciate Bruce a lot, man. He's one of the moderators for us, guys. He loads a lot of stuff on Facebook, a lot of that good content you guys are getting for Chicago sports. I also like to say to you guys, at some point, I promise you, there's a show coming on the Chicago Blackhawks, on the Chicago Bulls, on the Chicago Cubs, and how the season ended. We will get that stuff out to you guys eventually. We're just a little busy right now, and with the Bears being so exciting and this far into the season, it's tough to talk about anything else. But we will eventually get that stuff to you guys. Unfortunately, the Blackhawks lost their first game of the season last night to the Utah Hockey Club or whatever they call
Utah Hockey Club.
Absolutely terrible name, but they did lose that game. They looked a lot better in the second and third period than they did in the first. We'll talk about that with you guys more on the Blackhawks show, but we appreciate all you guys. We please like, subscribe, follow, share this with your friends.
And tell all your friends about us. We really love you guys. Thank you all. Thank you all so much, man. Without you, there is no us. We're just two idiots talking then. So thank you guys so much. Until next week, I got the Bears 27-14, Kyle 24-20. Bear down.